Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast, MLK Day / Inauguration Day edition. Boys, we'll start it out with a little fun game here. In honor of the Gulf of Mexico now being called the Gulf of America, what is one ridiculous thing that you would like to rename in the name of Chelsea?
In the name of Chelsea or in the name of America? Because I
Let's
want to
take.
name, I want to rename Greenland Oz
There we go.
when we buy that.
Matt, what do you got?
I have no idea. My brain is not firing on all cylinders right now. It's something I'd call Stamford Bridge Roman's Funhouse.
There we go. I like it. I didn't have one. I just had the idea. So I'll roll with it. Boys, we got full house. Got me, Andy. You got Matt. You got Parker. Parker, how you doing?
Uh Fine-ish. I'm on the eve of going back to work, which feels surreal. And the 2 weeks that were spent on paternity leave have come and gone. They were wonderful. Got to spend a lot of time with the fam, do a lot of family things, and just kind of soak it in. So it's been great. But yeah, I'm a little bit of disbelief that I have to be an adult tomorrow. I have to do adult things, and I logged on before before we podcasted tonight, mainly because I didn't know if my computer was going to turn on, but that's a different story. And so I was pulling up the contingency plan of podcasting from my work laptop, and I have 1,700 emails in there, which is disgusting, and I don't know what to do with yet. So that's a tomorrow problem. More importantly, was able to see Chelsea play today, get the win, which is always good. Family's good. We're good here. We're not as cold as you guys are in Wisconsin, so that's solid. We're getting out of our deep freeze. We've got a high of 35 tomorrow, where I think I talked to my mom earlier today, and she said that they're planning on seeing negative 20 temps, which is never fun. So good luck with that, boys. Yeah, I'll be outside tanning most of the day. Matt, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just been a long weekend. Had some work issues to try and address over the weekend. So just put in some long hours. And then luckily I was off today. So I was able to just kind of relax and did some stuff done around the house, made dinner for everybody, did some laundry, watched the Chelsea game, watched the inauguration speech, which I found quite captivating. We'll put it that way. Must see TV. But no, it was good. And then I was supposed to be back to work tomorrow, but Parker, as you mentioned, it's going to be fucking cold tomorrow. So my son's daycare said, "Hey, we're just going to be closed." So I'll be taking off work tomorrow to be a stay-at-home dad and just hang out with the little man. So should be a fun day. Looking forward to it. But yeah, saw a solid 3 points today from the boys. So always good, always a good day when that happens. Collins, how are you?
It's been a day. But Matt, like you said, the inauguration was something, and I wasn't even going to watch, but my wife was off today with the holiday, so she turned it on. And you guys know how much I love politics, so that set my day off right. Um, yeah, and then on top of that, you got fun new management at work kind of stuff going on, evaluating past management mistakes and trying to point fingers. So it's been a heck of a day. The Chelsea conceding kind of threw me over the edge. Um, but no, I'm glad we were able to come away with some points, and glad I get to work inside tomorrow.
Do you have all your TPS reports in order?
Fuck off. Well, boys, we got two matches since we don't ever play on weekends anymore. We had 2-2 draw with Bournemouth, and then today's 3-1 victory over Wolves. Let's start chronologically here. Parker, what do you got on Bournemouth?
I was ready to be irate in this game. I actually like had a text queued up in like the 90th minute to send to you guys. Like, I'm fucking sick of this because once again, Cole Palmer, puts us in the lead early on in a game. And then once again, it seemed like we couldn't see off a game. And yeah, I mentioned this to you guys earlier today. Like, this team has me on an emotional roller coaster. And most of that is due to the fact that we have hope and we have like expectations now. When you don't have hope and expectations, it's really easy to watch because you're like, oh, whatever happens kind of happens. And you don't really, have any bearing on losing and things like that. But watching Cole put us ahead like 3 or 4 times in a row and us not getting wins is just like really starting to get under my skin. And I don't really fully understand what the problems are. So yeah, I think we stole one. I think we got ourselves a point late, thanks to Reece James, which is funny because it reminds us all what Reece James can do, um, given very few opportunities to do so. And he kind of takes the first one he gets and steals us a point back. It had everything written on it to be another drop performance and 0 points against Bournemouth, who's doing well. And I told you guys earlier I wasn't mad about the goals that were conceded. They were fair goals. There was a penalty against Caicedo, and with a young defender kind of show somebody outside where he should, kind of corralled them outside, and Sanchez got beat near post. So um, it's more of a fact that I don't think we're taking all the chances that we can get, and people like Nico Jackson are in a complete slump and not hitting the target consistently and things like that. But we've got some problems in attack, which we'll get to later. Overall, it was kind of a relief to get something, but still a disappointing performance overall.
Yeah, I didn't have the opportunity to kind of watch the game, but just kind of, looking back and just kind of understanding the flow of things and kind of where we've been in the last, I would say, month or so. It kind of seems like, same story, different week. And I think, you know, maybe maybe I'll put some of this on us as the fans. We didn't come in with great expectations to begin this season, right? I mean, if you look at our predictions, we were what, sixth, seventh, eighth, something like that. We're way above, or at the time before kind of mid-December, we were way above where we thought we would be. Like, we didn't even think that was possible. Um, so I think maybe we hit this point of, hey, here's reality. Here is the coming of age, right? We talk about how young our team is, and we shouldn't be here. We're not ready yet, and stuff like that. Now we're starting to see why. Every team, Collins, you've mentioned this before, like every team has that run at some point in the season, where results just aren't going their way and so on and so forth. Maybe this was just our time, and I think it is a little bit of growing pains too, right? Team is so young, um, and just still some things to figure out. I think the added uncertainty, approaching the January transfer window, right? The uncertainty of who's staying and who's coming in, right? If you look at our team, we've heard a ton of rumors. We know Chilwell's been basically frozen out. Um, Disasi was going to be going to Italy. We saw the stuff with Nkunku floating around, then Lavia, or then Viega, sorry. Like, who the hell is going where? Who's staying? Like, nobody knew what's going on. There's a lot of uncertainty, and with a young team, that plays a role. Um, and something that the commentators mentioned, um, that I probably have noticed but didn't really think too much on is I didn't know that we were at Stamford Bridge today. I had no idea we were at Stamford Bridge. You could not tell by the crowd that it was a home game. And that's an issue because it can be very impactful on a young team. If we have supporters that are not encouraging, then what are they out there playing for, right? We always talk about, do it for the badge and whatever, but if the supporters aren't willing to give that support back, it makes things tough, especially on a young team. And I think some of that it's not maybe seen physically, but the mental part of it, can start to take a little bit of a toll. So I think this is kind of one of those growing pains in a season where we have, for another football reference, we have kind of outkicked our coverage to this point in the season. We're, I think, leaps and bounds above where I think most Chelsea fans thought we would be. And I think we got to a point of, okay, we're back. This is Chelsea, maybe a little bit too quick. And we've talked about, this whole thing, this whole process, this whole project, it's going to be a marathon. I think with the nature of how things have been playing out, right? If you go back to last year, yes, under Poach, things were different. We ended the season on a good note. Poach leaves, we bring in a new manager who got Leicester promoted. We don't know a ton about him. Comes in, we're still looking at all these, I don't want to call them draft picks, but more or less lottery picks, right? That we've signed, all these young kids, who's staying, who's going, who's the new crop that's coming in, how are things going to work together? What's this new system going to be? And maybe not expecting the world kind of like we actually got. And I think this is just maybe a step back to reality and just understanding, okay, let's level set, let's understand where this team is, who we actually are. And I think that's kind of the point that we're at right now. And I think as we talk about the Wolverhampton game, I think we'll start to, I think that might be a big shift for us, looking at the rest of the season.
Yeah, and the one thing that that I've been kind of thinking as we've been in this little bit of a slump. You talk about Nico Jackson being in a now 6 game scoreless streak. You talk about Cole Palmer starting games hot and then kind of fading into obscurity as the matches go on. You know, I look at the defense too, and the midfield, and we score, and the other team kind of picks up their intensity a little bit, and we kind of fade back, playing scared. And the first thing I think of is some of the teams that you and I have coached, because in essence we coach basically the same age as this team that's going out on the field. Like, it's maybe 3-4 years different on average. um they're young, and you can respond in 2 ways when you're young. You can respond where you're just reckless and go at it all the time, and 100% effort, but you're gonna concede some. Or when you're in a little bit of a bad run of form, you go the other way. You start to drop back. You don't want to be the one to make a mistake. And that's the most frustrating one. And that's something this team needs to work through. Reece James is pretty much your only medal winner, besides maybe Enzo Fernandez on this team. At least in England, it's Reece James at this point. Um, and so you haven't had a team go through and get all of these bumps and bruises and scrapes and scars, um, that you would need to be a medal winning team. So I think it's a little bit about us tempering our expectations and understanding. And I hate throwing the young team thing around, but it gets thrown back in my face every single time of, well, hey, this team's 22, this team's 23, youngest team in the league. This is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. There is no way we're going to be competing for a title. Enzo Maresca is very clear about that. We're not competing for a title. Uh, and so, yeah, had a bad run of form. But now we chipped in 3 against Wolves, came back in the dying minutes against Bournemouth to steal a point. At the end of the day, point is a point. So, going into this City match, I'm feeling better than had we dropped all 3 points in the last 2 games.
One thing I want to say, technically 2 things I want to say about this Bournemouth match. We should have been playing up a man because there was one of the most blatant red cards that I've ever seen not get called in this Bournemouth match. And I hate using that as an excuse as to why we shouldn't have. But I've never seen anything like that not get called as a red card, as a just blatant, foul play. And it's 52 minutes into the game, which definitely shifts, the rest of the game. The game was 1-1 at the time. Everything shifts at that point where basically a draw is a loss and then a win is the only kind of outcome you would expect from a team like Chelsea to take on for the rest of the 38 minutes that you have up a man. So that was really frustrating to see. I've never seen a ref go look at violent conduct and then not give a red but give a yellow, which baffled everybody. Baffled the announcers, baffled us fans. Didn't think that was a even possible outcome for a VAR review like that. So I hate leaning on referees as reasons why we lost, but it felt like a big one in this one that didn't go our way, and I still don't have a clear understanding why it didn't go our way.
Well, it's not the first time there's been a refereeing incident in this, 6, 7 game stretch either. I think about Liam Delap, winning an Academy Award on the penalty that was granted to Ipswich, which kind of buried us in that one. A couple other times Weirds and denied clear penalties. And yeah, I understand it goes both ways when you look over the course of the season, but definitely not something that's helped us, over the last couple weeks here.
Out of curiosity, so I was just trying to find, because I had heard about an incident, but I haven't seen it yet. So I was just trying to search quick on my phone to try and find it. And I forgot about something. Do you guys remember what happened the last time we played Bournemouth?
No.
16 yellow cards in that game from Anthony Taylor combined. That was that game.
It's always something.
You know what I forgot about, Matt?
What's that?
The fact that Noni Madueke tweeted about Wolverhampton as a city and said that everything about this place is shit, and then went on to score 3 goals against them, which goes down as one of like my favorite individual moments of the season, where he just completely shit on the town, got a ton of backlash for it, and then goes out and scores a hat trick against them. Noni hates Wolves. He scored again today. So
yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw his post game remarks, but he was joking with Thomas Tuchel about it. Tuchel basically said, "Well, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna say that, you got to go out and score." So I guess those two had a good laugh about, is what he was telling the post game.
their character can't do the easy things right, but likes to steal goals from our defenders, I guess.
Well, let's talk about Noni real quick, because he has had an interesting couple weeks as well. Being left out of the team sheet altogether, unused subs, playing a full 90. He's been kind of all over the place. We've certainly on this pod been critics of Noni. We've also praised Noni. Where are we right now? Where is Noni on the hot seat?
I think we put anybody else on the right. Personally, I'd like to see Neto on the right. I think he's more effective on the right than he was on the left today. And yes, I know Noni, I don't know if he got marked as having the assist on the Cucurella goal, even though it was flicked on by KDH. And then he also stole a goal from Trev. So he had a goal, yeah, but I don't know how many times I texted you guys throughout the match saying, please take off Noni. Please. I was asking for him to be taken off probably at the 30th minute. I think he put in one good ball in that amount of time, and with plenty of chances. But the fact that multiple times he's trying to take on 3 defenders and just absolutely bottles it. There was a counter opportunity, and all he had to do was pass the ball up to Nico down the right side. Nope. Gets it taken away from him. Like, and his first touch, I've been very, I don't know why, but I'm keeping an eye on first touches a lot more. His first touch is awful. It is bad. I look at every single time that he gathered the ball, or sorry, he attempted to collect the ball, because there was one that he completely missed, and he had about 7 seconds to probably tie his boots, check the wind, and he's still just, nope, out of bounds. Perfect. But his touch is just not there, and his attack, everybody knows he's going left. He doesn't have a right. He's become too one-dimensional for what we need him to be. And I think it's the biggest issue with Noni is that yes, he can get hot, and when he does have gets on his left foot and he can take a shot, an actual decent shot, it's not bad. Like he can go on a nice little hot streak. But if he doesn't score, he's not assisting enough, and he's not at least creating enough. He's getting into dangerous spots on the pitch, yes. And Collins, we've talked about this back and forth. I've seen both the good and bad of it. His decision making is still questionable. At certain times. Sometimes you're like, yes, that's the right call. Like the ball that he put in that KDH flicked on for Cucurella. That was a great ball in. Not gonna argue that. But it's the other 8 times where it's poor decisions trying to run at people and he can't sort out his feet, or it gets picked off him way too easily. Um, and for somebody who has an ego like Noni, he really hasn't done a lot to deserve it. So that's the problem that I have with him right now. I don't know what you do about that, but for me, I think you get more consistency out of Neto instead of a very Jekyll and Hyde out of Noni.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Yep, throw Neto on the right. I know we're about to Matt, you and I are about to get some flack for that, but yeah, Neto, Jao Felix, anybody on that right hand side. Noni Madueke has all the skill in the world. I think he is, with the ball at his feet, one of the best dribblers that we have, one of the best young, exciting players in England. But what's between his ears is by far one of the worst in all of England. He has no soccer, no footy IQ. Maybe he has soccer IQ. He doesn't have footy IQ. Um, just stupid shots from stupid angles. Wants to take on everybody and their mom. He's got 4 guys in front of him. He's like, no, I got this. Open runners at the far post. No, I got this. He he hurts us when he's not on. Whereas some guys cannot be on. Like again, Cole Palmer, he's been dealing with an ankle injury. He's got 2 goals in the last 5 games. But for the better part of 60, 70 minutes in those games, he's been off. But he hasn't hurt us. Noni Madueke hurts us. He takes away goals. So I think he's got some maturing to do. Send him off to France, let him play in Strasbourg for a little bit. Shit, that's half a joke, but throw him back in the Bundesliga, La Liga, something. Get him those reps, because right now it's not working for him.
So I'll play devil's advocate just a touch, and it makes me feel like I'm the Noni defender on this pod, which I probably am, but not to the degree that it comes out to be. So I'm not trying to like champion him as the next greatest thing, Eden Hazard regen or anything like that. So take it with a grain of salt. But some of the things that I noticed about him that have been positive. Well, I'll start with the negative. Bournemouth, he was terrible. he was garbage, absolute trash in the Bournemouth match. So take that for what it is. But then in the Wolves match, Matt, the one thing I want to disagree with you on is like the first 20 minutes or 18 or so minutes, he put like 3 or 4 really solid balls into the box. And I was actually really impressed with him because he was crossing off of his right. So he was taking defenders on one, crossing with his right into the box into really dangerous positions. So I saw like 3 or 4 good balls go in. Sometimes those turn into assists, sometimes they don't. It's fine. You look at production and what people do on those wings as your kind of grading rubric or whatever. So I thought he had a good first stint of the game, and then he gets in between his ears, and I'm not going to disagree with you guys about his mentality and his mental performance of the game and mental analysis of the game and doing things that he shouldn't do at times that seem inopportune. And yeah, when you're on a break, when you're on a counter attack and you try to take people on and you get picked off or you just get taken, it's a bad look, right? Like it's a really bad look when you've got a free runner in Jackson and you try to use your skill to take someone one-on-one and you get picked. Like it's a bad look. It is. So he has like probably the most maturity to go. The one thing that's really interesting to me about Noni is like what his value is and what we bought him for, because out of our wingers, and we put him in the same conversation as Sancho, we put him in the same conversation as Mudryk, we put him in the same conversation as Neto. He's by far the cheapest of those four. It's not even close. We bought him for 24 million. So he is like still to me like this diamond in the rough kind of a player, and still like could be something good. I don't think he's going to turn into something great because I think he still has to deal with a lot of those mental issues that we've talked about. But if nothing else, he's going to profit for our club. And like, I hate him for it, but he's still the one that gets the most stats. He's still statistically our best winger. When you compare him versus Mudryk versus Sancho versus Neto, he has 6 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League this year. I understand that one of those was stolen from Trev today, which sucks. It was a Trev goal through and through, but and 3 of those came against Wolves, but he still scored them, and he still has 3 assists, and those other guys don't have the stats to back their performance right now. So I look at the wing as like one of our biggest issues. Truly, I think it's one of the biggest things that we need to solve for. Maybe not in January, but just in general. And the wingers that we have are fine, but like for whatever reason, they're not producing like the stats that we would expect from our wingers to produce. So I kind of hate him for it, but he is statistically still, in my opinion, our best winger. Still the guy that's getting those numbers in. And I want the others to kind of raise up to that bar of putting in those numbers of getting assists and goals to their name too.
So the one thing I'll try to sum up based on kind of what you said is the first 20 minutes, yes, you are correct. But that's what we expect him to do. That's what he should do. The issue is his low moments are very, very glaringly low. And the one I didn't think about until now was the shot that Cole Palmer took. And Noni is still like 15 yards out on the far post, just hoping for a cross. For what? Get in and crash on the far side. Like Cole Palmer's very smart. We know this. I don't anticipate him trying to take a shot near post. He's going to go far post. Deflection is going to go off to the far side, and you should be the one there. You're the furthest person out on the right that we have. And he's still waiting for some cross 15 yards out. Like it's going to happen. Little things like that, they're glaring, but it's really low. And the stuff that he does well, it's like, good. That's the stuff that he should be doing. Like, yes. But his lows are very low, and they are very in the forefront of the distaste that Noni will leave in a lot of people's mouths is and I can another one was he got picked off, and then all of a sudden he's kind of just looking around, looking up like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And Wolverhampton's on a break. and he's still just like mad at himself. No, turn around and get your ass back. Like you caused this, go try and do something to fix it. It's little things like that that speak volumes. And I think that's right now the biggest issue with him.
One solution that's been floated, been rumored this week, that's Garnacho. Manchester United. They're looking to offload some. They're in kind of a rebuild like we were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, trying to offload homegrown talent, fun future endeavors. So Chelsea and Napoli are the two strongly linked. Napoli, of course, managed by former Chelsea manager Antonio Conte. So we'll see how that goes. But Parker, how do you feel about Garnacho?
Yeah, I want you to start us off on this one.
How did I phrase this? He is the Anthony of Noni Madueke's. What I mean by that, Anthony, of course, has all kinds of skill, doesn't really have much talent, right? Is not going to put up numbers to back up any kind of huge transfer fee paid for him. Noni Madueke, we know, is going to shoot every single opportunity that he gets from stupid angles, from way out. He's going to cross to no one. He's going to try to take on four defenders. Garnacho, and what I've seen of him, is both of those combined. He's got talent. He's got no brains. He will shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, but for no real reason, right? It's meaningless shots. Um, we already have one, and it is Noni Madueke. So he doesn't offer. You guys know how much I love change of pace and all of that. He doesn't offer any change to what we already have on the right hand side. So why go out and spend 50, 60 million pounds to replace a like for a like at very similar levels? I'd much rather we use that money to go buy a backup midfielder, or go get another center back. Hell, go get a backup striker, maybe go get a keeper. We have much more glaring needs than replacing Noni for Argentinian Noni.
Personally, if I were going to take anybody from United, I would take a flyer on Rashford instead. That's who I would go after because you can have him on the left wing or you could also have him up top. I think he helps both of those situations. He's got the pace. We know he can play at United. He damn near carried that team for a year and a half by himself. Um, like he has it. Honestly, I just think he needs a change of scenery and then all will be good. I see him in a similar light to Jadon Sancho. United is a dumpster fire right now. And I'm not saying that like we're tiers above them, right? Because we were in that boat for a few years, so we know all about it. But I think if you get him into an environment where it's stable, and right now the left wing is a glaring hole, right? It is a glaring hole in this Chelsea squad. I think if you can get him in, he's still young. He's what, 24? Rashford, something like that. He's still young, hasn't really hit the prime of his career. I think he still has a ton to offer. And I think if United are looking to get rid of assets, he's the one that I would go after if I had to pick just Man United, right? He would be the one I would go after, not Garnacho. I've seen I've seen Garnacho, and to me, he has the same attitude as Noni, and that bothers me. And it was actually a United match against Chelsea where Casemiro reamed his ass out because Garnacho like played an errant ball or whatever, and Casemiro had to bust his ass back because Chelsea was on a counter, and Casemiro had to take a yellow because Garnacho wasn't getting back. Again, it's a small moment, but to me that speaks volumes about who he is and what he wants to do or what he doesn't want to do. Under Maresca, you're going to have to do both. And we've seen that, right? Like that's the nature of what you have to do. Noni does that occasionally. I've seen Neto do it a ton. So I know he's all in on this. Garnacho, again, I see it just being a Noni, but on the left. and I don't think that really helps us in the long term.
I mean, hopefully Noni doesn't play. So like hopefully we get a quality backup on the right. So then we can have our Noni on the left with Garnacho. Um, Again, I feel like I'm the apologist or the defender of people that are not popular. I think Garnacho makes a lot of sense for this team, and I don't know that it's fully baked of a thought from me, but like here's a couple of reasons why. One, he's young, he's 20, and as a 20-year-old playing for a dumpster fire of United, if I was skillful and I was playing for United, I'd be like, yeah, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. Right? Like I'm skillful. I'm a young dynamic winger. You guys suck. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. That's how I would approach it if I was in that situation. Coming to Chelsea, things will change, right? Things will have to change, and this only makes sense for like two reasons. One, the right price. Like we're not overpaying for somebody. We're not letting United kind of take us for a ride on this one. And two, if he gets kind of buy-in from manager and players. He's Argentinian, so is Enzo. We have kind of an Argentinian connection where if Enzo can keep him in line, Enzo has captained a fair amount of our games. He's not our sort of sitting captain, I get that, but like as a midfielder and kind of a young leader of our team, if Enzo can keep him in line and keep him kind of honest, be like, no, we don't pull that shit here. You got to do a lot of that stuff at United, got it, but you don't get to pull that here. This you bust your ass here. You get back when you make a mistake. You atone for your errors, things like that. Like he's a 20-year-old dynamic talent, and I don't hate the Rashford comp, or I don't hate the Rashford thought of getting him as well. But to me, the star of United, and I just looked it up, Matt. Rashford's 27, Garnacho's 20. Like the big difference in age there. He fits the bill of what we're trying to do for a rebuild. I think Sancho still probably leads the left, and I think Garnacho kind of comes in um, and sits second fiddle until he can kind of prove that he deserves it. And I think that's going to be tough for someone of his stature to kind of accept as a role. But I think if we can get him in, like we can find minutes for him. And as we sit in fourth place today and Champions League football is on the horizon, yes, I am looking forward to Champions League football on the horizon because that's where we sit today. And squad rotation is a thing. So I think a guy like Garnacho provides us depth. It provides us a different look. It provides us some optionality on that left side. And we all thought Mudryk would be something that was good and could turn into something great. And we have no idea when we're going to see him next. And so with a glaring hole in the left, as you said, Matt, I think someone of his stature really fits well with what we're trying to do as a team.
One of my concerns, and one of the concerns seems to be floated, is that price tag around him. And yes, he's a young guy, but it's the same that PSG just paid for. Not even try his name, Kvaratskhelia. What's his name? He's the winger from Napoli, from Georgia. We were linked to a couple of years ago. Much more accomplished. So why are you paying Manchester United the same fee for somebody who is relatively an unknown?
This is Premier League proven. I know he doesn't have the same stats, because you're not going to have the same stats in other leagues, but Garnacho has played in a lot of Premier League games. And again, you take him out of a broken dumpster fire system and you put him into a system that's established, he can succeed. That's why. That would be the one reason. But again, I want to emphasize, I don't want to overpay for him. I don't want that to be a 70 million number for him, because I don't think that's worth it. Like I don't want him to be the highest paid wage player that we have. I want him to be in that like 120K a week, like in line with where Caicedo, where Enzo, where a lot of those guys are. So this deal only makes sense for me if we can get him on those terms.
So Matt, I think we need to find a middle ground here, because you and me are both Team Rashford. and that's the cheaper option. Um, Also Premier League proven. Parker, you certainly got the young Premier League proven. Pay a little bit more, but not too much kind of deal. Is there anybody who fits kind of that middle of where we're thinking mold in the Premier League that you would like to see come in?
What position?
A winger.
Not in this market. I think wingers are going for too much for what they are. Strikers, where Rashford would kind of take over a Jackson position. I said it a couple weeks ago, but Isak is the one guy I think is worth the money today. Just with what he's done at Newcastle. Still really impressed with what he's been able to pull off. So, but on the wing, no one's coming to mind.
The only one that comes to mind for me, and I think he's got a pretty similar market value to what United want for Garnacho, maybe if not a little bit lower. But we have issues with this club, so who knows? And that's Carol Matoma. I would be interested to see him fit in on the left, Neto on the right. I think that's a pretty dynamic set of wings you got right there.
The interesting one that I have, which is going to come way out of left field, um, and I know it's not probably his natural position, but I know he can play out there. Um, Morgan Gibbs White. I'm a fan of him. Um, he's kind of one of those people that is kind of like you're a hidden fan of his. I like what I see out of him every single match. He is the exact type of guy that you need on a younger team like this. And I don't know specifically what his age is, but he's he's 24, going to be 25 in a week. He's did a damn good job with Nottingham Forest. He's kind of grown himself into a household name. He is a guy that gives you a full 90 and change, start to finish. He is somebody who can score, who can assist. He is kind of your energy guy, right? I know I'm Colin, you probably blast me for this. I'm the big work hard guy, right? The big energy guy. But he is somebody that can also produce while operating under that same kind of umbrella. He's a guy that I think would fit in very nicely, and he would kind of be that leader by what he shows on the pitch. Maybe not vocally as much, but by what he does and what he offers on the pitch. That would be an interesting one, I think, and I would be very, very excited to see him come to Stamford Bridge.
So I like both of those, and the two of that names I'm going to throw out, I don't think are as good as those. So take that for what it is. But two names of people that aren't getting like regular first team minutes that I think might be interesting to delve into. They're bigger names. They haven't performed as well. So I think we can get them like relatively cheap, but they are older guys. Diogo Jota is one for Liverpool, and Jack Grealish is another for Man City. I see your face, Collins, and I don't love either of them. I don't love either of them as wingers coming to Chelsea, but for like 25, 30 mil, I start to like it a lot more. Because they're big names. They're proven guys that have done it. They've come off the bench, like especially Jota. Jota's actually played fairly well. I think he was injured for a bit, but he's come off the bench and played well for Liverpool this season. And Grealish has never really found his footing for City since he made that big, that big ticket transfer move over there. Grealish is older. He's 28 or so, 29 maybe. I don't remember exactly what it is, but like, guy still has something in the tank, maybe, and maybe something to prove. So some names to just kind of throw into the pot. Again, I don't love either of them, and I'm not championing either of them to come here, but it would be interesting to see if we can do some solid business of guys that have fallen off the depth charts of other, Premier League contending teams.
Here's one for you before we switch subjects. Raheem Sterling. Talking about players
Touche.
coming home.
Touche.
Trev Chalobah makes his re-debut with Chelsea, of course. Being recalled from loan from Crystal Palace in the middle of the week here or over the weekend. So makes debut in front of the home support, the quiet home support. But of course, they were all backing him. Almost scored a goal. What else do you make of Trev's re-announcement?
Dude was a fucking monster today. The his defending was fantastic. His distribution, I thought, was even better. It's he seemed like a player who had a lot to prove, and he proved that to everybody. To me, spoiler, he was my man of the match. I don't care what anybody says. To me, he was my man of the match, and I called that very early on. I can't tell you how many clearances, how many deflections. He even went full sell on a block. Like just gave up his entire body just to block a shot. The kid is proper Chels. I don't care how you want to split it. He came back over the weekend, or he came back midweek. Hey, you're going to be slotted and you're going to start right away. Let's see what you can do. And he showed out. I thought he was sensational.
He was great. The thing I love about him was his stature. Like he never looked indecisive for a second. He knew exactly what his assignment was. He cleared balls when he needed to. He took charge when he needed to. Made sliding tackles when he needed to. He played balls forward when he needed to. He played people on. Like it's funny, man. Matt, you were probably the biggest cheerleader for him towards the end of last year, of just him coming back from injury and then like that blanket of a defender that can sit next to Thiago Silva and someone who we can just rely on and trust. And he did a lot to just kind of re-emphasize that nature about him today. It's funny because I know we don't get that for 38 games a year. There are mistakes in his body of work that can't be ignored, but the performance I saw today was fantastic. He was great, and I am quickly like reminded how, again, to your point, Matt, like he slotted in to a system midweek and performed very, very well. Couldn't be happier for the guy. He was deserving of a goal. I wish he would have gotten his goal today on his re-debut, but I think everybody in the stadium, all of Stamford Bridge got to see what he brought to the table, and he won headers, he attacked, he did his defending well, he did everything well. So I give my my golf clap, my solid shout out to Trev. He was great.
Yeah, I like you guys. I'm very happy for Trev. Um, being frozen out and having your squad number given away. Yeah, all that I'm sure is tough. And coming back, I'm sure there were some apologies from higher up given to him when that call was made, which was deserved. But I will say, I've said for a long time, I think his cap, his potential is a good defender on a mid-table club. I think this year he will, fill in. He'll be our Band-Aid. He'll be our Benoit Body Shield of a couple of years ago. But then right back to a club like Palace, where he will continue to look good, but not great. In this one, we're playing a team in 17th place, a team that's already sacked the manager this year. Team that's scored 32 goals, which is pretty bang average. And he looked good. He did a job. He did a job that we have struggled to do over the last couple of weeks. But I'm sure there was a lot of adrenaline going into that, playing in front of the home crowd again, boyhood club, all of that. So I hope he does a job for us over the next 6 months. But I know he's going elsewhere, and so I don't want to get too attached.
Yeah, I think to me he's done enough, at least I think in his career, to be in the conversation for at least currently who should be paired up next to Levi, right? So if Levi is healthy, right? It's always been the question of, all right, who's Levi going to be paired up with? Is it going to be, for a while, a couple of seasons ago, it was Disasi. Then it became Fofana when he came back. Then he went on injured. Then it was split between Tosin and Disasi, and Body Shield was in there too. To me, Trev is in that conversation of who should be number two while Fofana is out. I think Fofana is the clear, him and Levi are clear 1, 2. I don't see a reason why Trev isn't the third option. I don't see why, him and Tosin, they look really good together today. And I think that's the other part of this is, yes, a lot of these other guys have kind of played together, with the exception of Reese and Tosin. That was kind of a newer one. Um, but the center back partnership of Tosin and Chalobah, I thought was really, really good. And it's something I wouldn't mind in matches against, lower half Premier League. I'm not saying they go out against Liverpool and, put on a masterclass. I'm not saying that. But if you need a pairing that you feel comfortable with, I think those two would be a very good backup option to a healthy Levi and Fofana.
Yeah, gun to your head, do you pick Tosin or Trev today? That's, I think, one of the really interesting parts about this team right now.
Based on the performance today, I would take Trev. Based on the performance strictly today.
I go Tosin, and that's because you can also play him as a number 9.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is today. I think both are like proving their case right now, and I don't have enough data on Trev to. I have to have more than one match on Trev. Tosin, I haven't been super high on, but he's looked better in the past, week or so. So I'm happy with his development, but like similar to Marcus Alonso, I'm more happy with his attacking prowess than I am his defending. And I think this City matchup coming is going to be very telling for our defense, where we're not going to have 75% of the possession. We are going to have to defend for long stretches of time. I think it might still be our biggest weakness. It gets overlooked because of the teams that we've played recently. You go backwards. Bournemouth is a solid team, but Morecambe, Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Fulham, Everton, Shamrock, Brentford, Astana. Those are the most recent fixtures we've had. Not a lot of attacking prowess on that list, and still some losses in that list. So, City. I watched the City game against Ipswich, and not only did they win 6-0, they looked again like what City would expect to be looking like. Their blip seems to have gone away, and it'll be a very big clashing test going up against them to see where we're at. I think this is our biggest litmus test of the year right now. City coming back into form, us having dropped form, but have the ability to bounce back from it. So if we can play them tough and potentially get a result there, I think that's gonna bode a lot for what we can expect to see for the rest of the season.
So what's your final prediction for this one?
At City, call me pessimistic, but I expect to lose. I expect to lose to City at City. Even considering what they've been through, I still expect to lose. So if we can pull out a draw, I'll be happy.
See, I think we're a better road team than we are a home team. So yeah, this team has now scored multiple goals in a game once again, 2 matches in a row. Uh, City, well, I guess they have won 3 out of the last 5, are still on the outside looking in terms of Champions League places. We have a chance to put a 5 point cushion between us and fifth place. I have full faith in the boys to steal 3 points at the Etihad. Um, I'd go 3-2. Matt, how about you?
I go 3-1 City. I think I think City has too much experience to for them to deal what they've dealt with and then all of a sudden come back and you know pound Ipswich what 6-0 6-1 like 6-0. Eh, that's the City we expect. And yes, it was a rough time for the Sky Blue. But they figured out a way through it, and now it looks like they're kind of back to themselves. Um, maybe we catch a good day, maybe we have everything kind of firing and whatnot, but we're also coming out of a slump ourselves. I think City is more battle tested than we are, so I think that they're up for that challenge, maybe a little bit more than we are. So I would say probably 3-1, 3-1 City.
Well, just as my shameless plug here at the end of the pod, you can catch me on the Shades of Blue podcast live stream on Wednesday previewing this game. Always fun talking with those guys, even if they are City fans, but make sure to check that out on their YouTube page. Boys, any closing thoughts?
I have one quick topic. What are we doing about Robert Sanchez? We can't let that one go untalked about. Collins, did you have a chance to see it?
I did, and I also had a chance to listen to Enzo Maresca's comments on it, and I agree with him. One bad thing happened. Now, he had one mistake there, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, you know, did he not also, you know, make 4 good plays that saved goals? So he's in a good place. He said Sanchez is in a good place. I think he's in a place. I think he's better than Jorgensen. And I think our keepers on loan are on loan. I don't anticipate us going out and buying yet another keeper. So stay ready for Robert Sanchez.
Until the era of Gaga Slovenia. He's the only person that I can like feel like we can get behind, or I can get behind as like the potential successor to the throne. Right now, you're absolutely right, Andy. Like it's him. It's his job. I mentioned Jorgensen's form in the midweek games and stuff, that he didn't prove that he deserves it. So I don't think that it's his right. But it's a position that I still think needs work. So, on the short list of things that need to be improved, it's goalie, it's center back, although slightly improved with the Trev recall. And then it's winger. For me, those are the glaring needs. And I think that's what we need to solve for. Either with more depth or with people that can turn into consistent first team starters.
So I'm trying to look it up, but I don't know, maybe Parks you remember. Do you know who was on commentary today?
It was Martin Tyler and I don't recall the second person. I think he was a former Chelsea player though.
Yeah. I like the second person. He doesn't pull any punches, which I found fantastic because he said a lot of things that I was already thinking, and one of them was specifically about Sanchez. And not so much like bashing him, but just asking the questions. And it's the similar stuff that, we always ask. Is he the right guy to continue to have? Or does there need to be a change made? And, we've talked about that. His distribution is suspect. And we talk about he should be coming out of the box and just just small mental lapses that end up being big mistakes, right? Yes, he has his highs. It's similar to how I look at Noni. When he makes big saves, yes, that's what you should be doing. But when he makes mistakes, they are bad mistakes. Um, Based on who we have now, like we have 8 keepers. He's the best one we have, but I still don't think that's good enough. And if we have the opportunity to grab another top keeper, I think we need to make that shift sooner rather than later. I'd be fine with riding the season out with him, but come summer, we need to find somebody else because it's we see the same glimpses of brilliance and the same glimpses of mistakes. So it's really not a is he doing better? It's more or less again, which version of him are you going to get? And it's tough to find that with him, and it's tough to kind of keep backing him when you know that we're one mistake away from, blowing a game wide open or, conceding a cheap goal that could easily bring a team back into the contest.
So Parker, Matt, first of all, well said. Yeah, absolutely. I'm good riding it out, but instead of going out and getting somebody, Parker, I'm gonna usurp Gaga Slonina. I am now a Mike Penders fan. Got him out on loan in Belgium. He's 19 years old. He's gonna be the new Thibaut Courtois. 6'7". He's kept, let's see, 2, 4, 5 clean sheets in like 17 matches over there with a pretty shitty defense in front of him. This is my guy. I'm marking my claim right now. He's a me guy.
Let it be known. I have no idea, Matt, if this is right. But I was searching around and it looks like Scott Minto might have been the guy that commentated alongside Martin Tyler today. Who looks like he played for Charlton, Chelsea, West Ham, Rotherham, Benfica in Portugal. So he is a Sky Sports lead anchor coverage guy. So again, quick Googles here.
Mhm.
It might be wrong, but it looks like that's who it was.
Well, I mean, whoever it was, like I enjoyed his commentary, um, just because he gave his thoughts, and it's the thoughts of what probably a lot of people are thinking. And I enjoyed it, not just because I agreed with almost everything he said, but I just like the way that he was just kind of like, yeah, like here's the problem, and what's going to be the solution. But I enjoyed his commentary.
Sometimes I get mad at the commentary guys when I have a thought. I'm like, oh, I'll say that on the pod, and then they say it, and I'm like, now I can't because like people that listen to the broadcast, they're like, oh, I just took that from the comment. I'm like, no, but I had the thought too. Like, come on,
Yeah,
man.
I thought at first he just said it in front of millions of people.
Exactly. So I don't take it too personally. If we share thoughts, then at least it validates my thinking. And someone who gets paid to do their job versus me who does not get paid to sit here and spew out bullshit. If we have the same thoughts, then fair.
Well, if you'd like to sponsor Parker, hit us up at Flag Down Pod on social media. We're on all social medias, um, except for Blue Sky because I can't figure that one out even though it's Twitter. So we're everywhere else, including well, also not TikTok. RIP and welcome back to that as well. I'm sure your guys' wives were just as upset as mine. Um, Make sure to subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff before I go off on a crazy tangent here. Boys, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys. No closing thoughts.